All right, would like to welcome everybody to episode 1, season 1 of the Kickin podcast. My name is Byron Vaughn. I'm the host, and with us tonight is our co-host, Johnny Phoenix and Joe Escobar. Our spotlight guest today is Scott Gustafson from Imperial Arms. And we are just packed full of information tonight, so we are going to go and get this thing started. We're locked and loaded. Our spotlight review tonight is the Imperial Arms M10 Romanian import. And Joe, you did the review on this gun.
All right, so basically, me and Johnny Phoenix, we took this AK out to go give it some desert time. We put several mags through it. Everything was great. It ran smooth, soft. Really impressed with the AK. We did record the video. We hope you like it. Please feel free to comment and let us know what you think. Hey, it's Joe from Just a P Reviews. I'm out here with John Phoenix, aka Mr. Johnny Phoenix himself. Today we got something special. Right out of Peoria, Arizona, Imperial Arms. Basically, we're gonna get some mags out and see how this baby works.
Hey folks, just so we know, we don't shoot premium ammo to these guns when we're testing them. We're just shooting what you might have to shoot if you run into it. This looks like really old stuff. Going hot. We are, by the way, folks, we're shooting surplus corrosive ammo, steel case. What is it, Wolf?
Wolf.
So we do have a hang-up, which I didn't have any hang-ups to the first part of the mag. We had one hang-up, I'm pretty sure it's the ammo.
First mag we shot, we're actually using different kind of magazines. That first mag was a surplus Romanian magazine. This mag right here is a Tapco mag. So we're just trying to see the different mags you can use through it, what it likes the best. Let's give it a try. Where?
I'm shooting out now with a Circle K Bulgarian Circle 10. What keeps saying Circle K? Circle 10 mag, one of the best mags, polymer mags made, so it should work.
We're gonna give it a try with the budget-friendly Pro Mag magazine and see how it does. One hiccup, not bad.
All right, final thoughts after shooting the Imperial Arms AK47 variant. I like the adjustability of stock. Obviously the mag full furniture makes it very comfortable to shoot. I think the muzzle brake It's a pretty decent one. Very soft felt recoil on an AK. Typically speaking, when you're shooting one of the more rustic ones, you might get a little bit kickback, but this shot really soft. Felt like a 223.
Yeah. Another thing is too, if you're not into the mag pull setup that he's got, he also has like classic looks as well. Like this is his, classic Romanian underfolder. Different wood kits that he does. He basically makes them to, everybody's liking. It's not just one. He sticks with one pattern. He keeps, putting different models out of it. It's very smooth shooting. I really enjoy shooting it. Probably one of the best AKs I've shot. It holds up nice. It's pretty nice to shoot different mags and it working and everything. I really enjoyed it.
It's me, Johnny Phoenix, and Joe, Big Joe from the shop. Thanks for joining us. Shout out to the fellas at TAC Blog. Hi to all the people just tuned. Yeah, I had a great time shooting this gun. I was telling Scott, first time I met him was tonight, this would have been a really awkward section of the segment of the show had I not enjoyed the gun. Because I'm going to be honest with you, if it's crap, we're going to tell you it's crap. If it's good, we're going to tell you it's good. One of the things that I was telling Scott about that I was looking at on the gun, very simply, I want to take a look at the cosmetic exterior of the gun. Rivet work, there's no machining marks anywhere. The fit and finish overall, fantastic. I put it up there with anything that's out there right now. I really like the mag pull furniture on this version that he's got. Specifically, the rivets are where they're supposed to be. They're riveted down correctly. There's no gaps. It's done correctly. So really loved it. And the second thing I hate the most about AKs is mag wobble. So that's the reason we took out 4 different kinds of mags. We took out a Bulgarian Circle 10 polymer with steel backing. We took out the cheapos, which is a Tapco and the Pro mag. And then we had actually 2 additional surplus mags, Romanian and a Yugoslavian mag. They all ran well, which is important. And the most important thing is they didn't wobble. It's hard to get a custom gun to run all kinds of mags. And when you stick them in there, one of the first things, it doesn't matter how great the gun is, it's going to bug the living crud out of me if the mag wobbles. And it's hard to get it right because you have to make a gun specific to the builder's taste and what he wants to do with it. At the same time, you have to make sure the mags fit. And you have to have a wide variety because if you're an AK guy, we like shooting cheap polymer mags. We like the cheap P mags. We like the cheap Tapco mags. I'm not going to want to drop $1,200 on a gun and go spend $50 on mags that only specifically fits the gun I just had. So, with that, great job, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Enjoyed it.
Not only that, I do want to let everyone know that we did run the crappiest ammo you can think of. We ran the nastiest Chinese corrosive ammunition, steel wolf ammo, and I gotta say, man, that it ran solid. Good job on those builds, man.
Thank you.
One thing I've true story. We had our employee range day on Memorial Day, and we went up and Scott brought one of his AKs up. It was a fully auto AK with the suppressor on it, and I've always been an AR guy. I've never been a fan of AKs. I know people are gonna be screaming and they're, oh, he's not a but that gun converted me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm gonna throw my AR away.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I'm buying an AK.
Yeah.
Especially I'm gonna buy one of Imperial's AKs because that gun just shot as solid as can be. And I've shot a million AKs in the past, different makes and models, and it just
It's kind of funny because that was a little short one too, and sometimes the short ones like to kick real hard. But
right.
Yeah.
Far superior to an AK I've ever shot.
I've never seen a bigger smile on your face when I shot
it was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a good time, but it was definitely an eye opener on what could be done with an AK.
Yeah. Well, not only that too. Chris had his Romanian underfolder out there that you made for him, and I've had a underfolder, a Serbian, and it wasn't even close to as smooth as his was. His was it was crazy. You metal to your arm. you do feel it.
Yeah, and sometimes those underfolders aren't too comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, his is quite comfortable, and it's super smooth, and a lot of our guns only get smoother over time.
And I tell you what,
So-
Chris, he treats it like crap.
Yeah,
It's on the ground. The first thing he does is just throw it right on the ground.
Yeah, and it's survived so far, and it's going to
Oh,
keep
yeah.
surviving. Yeah.
Yeah, I did it on my write-up. I put it in there, and I am really I'm a stickler for guns. I don't mind spending the money, but if I spend the money, I have a level of expectation for guns. But when I saw that yours were, there are a lot of builders out there that say, or there are a lot of people that say they have custom builds. And like we were speaking prior to the show, slapping furniture on a gun,
Yep.
swapping out a trigger is not a
Yep.
custom gun.
Yeah, and I mean that's a good kind of thing to talk about. I mean everyone starts somewhere, and especially in the AK world, it's kind of daunting for someone to try to, let's say, just go build their own custom AK. It does take a lot of tooling, and there is some knowledge, and in the last couple of years there's been a lot of knowledge that's been spread over. It took 10-15 years for that knowledge and the actual equipment and the parts. And like you're saying, throwing furniture on a gun, well, this is an imported gun. I mean, we do a lot of custom builds, one-offs, and production runs as well. But cost effectiveness, you get a lot of really cheap AKs, and those are like you were talking about, a lot of mag wobble, really bad rivets, and that's just because when you're starting to get a production, the faster you can make them, the cheaper you can make them, the cheaper you can sell them for. And the AR market right now has kind of taken a little bit of a dive to where AKs have become more expensive.
Right.
And a lot of guys would have never thought that the AK is now more expensive than an AR, as a medium gun.
Right.
And so that you start getting back to the import guns, because that's what a lot of these guys, it's Wasser, that's the best one. Well, that was just a designation, that style of gun, and a Romanian gun as well. So that's, probably the best, let's say, low tier gun you could get. And then these came on the market, and they come in, they have to be 924 compliant for America. And so when we get them, it's like, take an example, like I was telling you earlier, you call a Chevrolet dealership and you want a full-blown race car, but you don't want to pay for a complete car.
Right.
So we get these in. They're already barreled actions from Romania. I fit the mags. We do a little bit of polishing and tuning. We do add custom furniture and file fit them so they fit nice and tight and will stay tight. But again, we do a lot of custom builds, and our rivets are just as good. If we see something that's wrong, let's say on the imports, because not everything's going to be correct.
Right.
We've had some that had a little bit of cants, maybe a rivet here and there, so we'll go back and fine tune them. We also give them a nice coating on top. We do paint them with a KG coat, some of the best coating you can get in the industry. And we check everything before it goes out the door, because I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to my AKs, and if it doesn't pass me, I'm not letting it go.
Well, yeah,
So-
we've got a lot of people on our blog that are, I wouldn't say we're experts. They're just enthusiasts. They're really into the hobby. They're really into the guns, and just like you, just like Byron at the shop, everybody from a blog standpoint, I won't give a thumbs up to something and lose my credibility. And when I put it in writing that this is one of the smoothest guns that I've shot that's an AK action, and I wanted to know why, and we're going to probably get into that later. But more importantly, it's just a gun that I said shot as well as any that I can remember, including my arsenals. And I didn't know the history of your gun company at the time I wrote that. I went back and I did some digging, and I went to one of these AK blogs, and I found a little blurb that you put out in 2015 that gave an understanding of what you did to the trigger. So I'll get into that with you later on.
Well,
but
I
just
remember that, but probably.
That was going to be.
Yeah, because I said it right out.
for-
It's like, man. Oh, I said that out loud. That in writing, that it's just inclusive of all the AKs I ever shot. It's shot as well as an arsenal, and arsenal is, to me, that's just the standard for AKs.
Yeah, I mean, it is probably one of the best top of the line production guns you can get. There is a lot of companies that will actually take those guns and then refine them, kind of like this M10, and then turn around and put them out as one of their custom guns.
Right.
I mean,
So it's really not a custom.
Well, you compare your price point to like the Century Arms AKs that are being released.
well, we are a little more expensive than Century, but I mean,
No, but it's not far.
Right,
But the quality
right.
is
Oh, yeah.
way ahead of
Yeah, I
what
mean-
Century Arms puts out. I mean, as far as
the AK market recently, I mean, it's taken a huge upswing. I mean, a lot of guys, they want an AK because of the reliability, and it has many different calibers, but it shoots the standard 7.6239, which is a stopper of a round, and it's a lot of fun. And there's a lot of guys that are doing it for the collectability or the shootability. And we're just trying to be the best we can for the money. I mean, you get the cheap ones, they're, let's say, 600 to 700, maybe 750 at the most, and then you start getting into the top tier ones, which are easily over $1,000,
Right.
1,200, 1,500 when you start getting into it, and that's not even. You need some beer money over to.
Oh, yeah.
And we wanted to be kind of right in the middle of that, being able to produce a quality product, but not have to charge huge amounts of money. We just hope that we can continue to get the military grade parts from overseas and be able to have them imported over so we can get them. Prices do go up, they do go down. The AK world is, I consider, sometimes like the stock market. There'll be a particular model that'll come in overseas, and there'll be thousands of them. And once those start to dry up and it's harder to get, the prices are inflated by a lot. We see that in the AK-74 market a lot, to where right now it's extremely hard to get any parts kits or even any parts in general for that particular model. And the ones you can get are a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned that being like the stock market. Do you see any changes in the market based on the problems with the Romanian factories that they had their little
I did hear.
kaboom?
Yeah, I did hear recently that
Good word for it.
in fact, it's funny you bring it up because honestly, these particular rifles here are probably going to be going up in price if they do have more of them coming over. They come over in batches of about 250 to 1,000 at a time. We're lucky enough to conglomerate with another company that is able to hand us handfuls at a time instead of just buying them onesie twosies. But you have to buy a lot at a time to be able to, and that's where the importers. That's why someone like Century Arms is able to keep in business like that, regardless of some of the quality issues, is because they just can get them for so cheap. Nobody else can beat them.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of guys, I mean, the AK market, it's expanded a lot in the last just 5 years alone. Like quite a few years ago, there was some forums, and a lot of the guys that actually knew what was going on, and most of those forums got shut down on Facebook, and there's still some of the files. And the AK world's very finicky. You get the guys that they know what they know, and that's all they like. Then you get the other side of the market where they like all the new stuff, the tactical stuff. But there's a wide range. I mean, like the AR guys, you don't see a lot. I mean, there is now a lot of the retro guys coming out. They like the Colt A1 style, A2. I just see a lot more in the AK world of these guys that like the vintage stuff, and the guys, it's very separate as to where the AR market. They're kind of conglomerated. They like the tactical, and they like the retro. It's not that way in the AK world. So.
Well, what if I already had a base rifle or a kit, Scott? Could I send it in and get it imperialized?
Yeah, I mean, we do offer certain upgrades. Again, it just first when I talk with the customer, I kind of want to ask them, what are you going to do with the rifle? What is your expectations of this rifle? What do you want it to do for you? And the guy will say, well, I'm going to beat the hell out of this rifle. I want to beat the hell out of it, and then have to come back asking for more. Then I get other guys where I want it to be super pretty, and I want it to be a gold underfolder, and some people want that.
I might have monopolized that part right there because I got an AMD 65. I wanted Imperialized.
Yeah,
I wanted to shoot right, man.
Yeah.
It's just a rough rifle, man. It's you guys know what an AMD 65 is, a tanker type rifle that's been cut down with a barrel or a muzzle
it's
extension.
It's a Hungarian rifle. When they came in stock, they were like a 12.5-inch barrel with the. So if you see them on the market as like a rifle with the side folder,
right?
A lot of times they'll have a bigger extension on it. It's still an AMD style,
Yeah.
but
I've got the AMD 65. That's the original imports.
Yeah.
So I'll probably be talking to you about sending that sucker in.
No, I mean, we do everything from the ground up. I mean, we start with parts and build you a custom rifle, or we can take an existing rifle and we can modify it to do what you want it to do.
How about Cali compliant guns? Have one of the readers ask. He's from Sacramento, California. Wants to know, hey, if I wanted an AK Cali style, can I get a featureless AK from you?
Oh yeah, I mean we can offer that. I mean we haven't done a production run of those yet, and we've been talking about doing something like that, like a Cali run and a New York run. We just haven't had enough people trying to get a hold of us asking for those.
I got you.
So if somebody would like something like that, they're more than welcome to give us a call. Let us know, like, hey, I want this built, or hey, I want to, I'm buying this gun. I want it shipped to you to make it California compliant. Because let's say you're buying it off Arms List, and you know that gun's not compliant in your state. You're more than welcome to give me a call and have it shipped to me. I'll compliant, and then we'll ship it over to you, to your FFL.
That's a great service.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So.
You
Don't know of anybody else who would do that.
I've never even seen
I don't think any custom builder would do that.
I've never even seen a California compliant AK. I've seen AORs, and I've never seen a California compliant one.
Well, and especially recently in California, they make it to where you cannot take the magazine out.
Right.
So I was something I was really digging and thinking, okay, so because before you would have it to where it only held 10 rounds, you know, and you had to, now you're having to do all these other things to take your gun apart, let's say an AR. And there's ways to defeat that. There was a company I saw a couple weeks ago. They're offering a magazine that just clips in, and it's got a little clip on top, so you open your receiver, put it in, but it's got a side window on it.
Oh, wow.
So you just push it open, slam 10 rounds in it, let it go, hit the button, next 10 rounds, and you go again. When you're ready, you know, you don't have to take the mag out. Yeah, it's a little more inefficient, but I'm sure someone could get really good on it and go.
Right.
So there's options out there. It just matters what you
Cool.
want.
So there you go, 6917. Your question's been answered.
Now, Scott, last year when we met up at SHOT Show,
Yeah.
you were starting to get a little national notoriety, doing some work for some pretty large distributors nationwide now.
Yeah.
How's that going for you?
Yeah, really, since last January, I mean, everything's just kind of exploded and just been holding on by the seat of my pants and keeping up as best I can. Yeah, I mean, we've done more business in this last year than we really expected it to happen. And we just try to keep the quality up and keep everything going, stock our vendors as fast as we can. I mean, it's been nice. It's kind of cool. We're very humble about it. I mean, again, like we do this for the love of the guns. We're not necessarily just trying to make money with it. It's nice now that, I mean, I don't have to worry about eating top ramen every night, you know, every night at least. I mean, there's some tight weeks, but I mean, we make it happen. And you know, we really appreciate all the people helping us out and you know, saying congratulations. I mean, I don't think we're there yet by any means, but yeah, we're getting a little bit of exposure, and I hope it continues. So
Great.
That's a good place to jump in and ask you about this. A lot of our readers on the blog, yeah, they're really interested. They're just not necessarily straight up gun guys and gals.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when I put out a questionnaire saying, "Hey man, what do you want to ask this guy?" and a couple questions came in that were more like on a personal basis. For example, one of the readers asked, "You know, why did you decide to pick the AK47 platform as something to tinker with?" I mean, I didn't wake up one day and decide to do a blog. You know, something led me to it.
yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that, man?
Well, first of all, I mean, I love the AK platform. It's a great platform. Everyone thinks, oh, it's a commie gun and this and that. I think it's a world gun now. When I was a kid, you know, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of guns that were cool, like kind of assaulty looking guns, you know, like the movie looking guns when I was
Right.
a kid, and the AK and the SKS, and they were inexpensive. So we'd go to the gun show, and my dad, he bought me and my brother matching SKSs, and I wanted to start learning about them. And then a little longer in life, I started realizing some of the AKs that I had weren't really that great, and I wanted to learn about the knowledge of it. They're probably the most reliable gun you can get. I mean, the guns that I build, I try to make them last not only my generation, but, you know, move on to your grandkids. Let's replace the barrel and let's go another generation. They're super easy to work on. They're a very robust gun. They do come in different calibers. There's a reason why the military uses them. They aren't, again, now the most cheapest gun you can get. But again, there's so much different stuff you can do with them. You can make them cool, authentic, out of a movie. You know, Wolverines. It's Red Dawn. Everybody wants to do the Wolverines and have that Wolverines gun.
I'm not gonna lie, I did that.
Yes, yeah. and then you see like a lot of the different conflicts and the Russian Spetsnaz guys, and they look, you know, all cool with their AK and
By the way, don't try to do the Russian push-up thing
go
with
do
the
the Slav
AK.
squat.
Yeah,
Slav squat.
And make sure that you got a real good mag weld when you do that. But so there you go, great Pogo. Thank you for the question. That's one of the things, you know, the other thing that we wanted to touch upon that the blog really digs is, what do you see as the future for your company? What are you trying to do? We're obviously an Arizona-based blog and website, so we want to support our fellow Arizonans where we can.
And
Yeah.
podcast.
And
Yeah,
podcasts.
Yep.
Oops, my bad. People paying for this, but yeah. What do you see yourself going, man? What are you trying to do with this?
You know, when we started, it was a thing of the heart. We were trying to, you know, build better guns than what we had. But I mean, we're trying to do more of a production run, but we're also not only going to keep continuing to do AKs, but we're going to start to branch out and do a couple different models. You know, we were thinking about trying to do we've done a couple pistol models, but we're going to do more of a further production model. But we're also thinking next year there's going to be some prototypes coming out, and we're looking at possibly doing maybe a handgun. and there's some custom muzzle brakes coming out. And I'd like to continue doing like bigger work with bigger companies.
We get exclusives, right?
So, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you guys always do that.
Yeah, I just heard exclusive there on a
Thank you.
handgun.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Whoa.
What do you got in mind there?
Well, I mean, we did do a couple custom pistols, but we're thinking probably about a 10.5-inch barrel, more like, small size. I mean, once you get super small at the AKs, they just don't get very reliable, and they're more for looks at that point. But to make it simple, yeah, we're just looking at probably doing something, probably having some kind of brace on it, and front sight gas block, of course. We were thinking about doing double up like the AMD 65 style, maybe a small pistol like that. But they're going to be more of a tactical model. We might be using some vintage stuff on them too, so we'll probably have two different models, have more of the chopper look,
Right.
and then more of the tactical operator look.
Right on.
Which style pattern do you like? Do you prefer? Do you the more old school kind of guy?
It's
or?
funny because some of my guns are a little bit of both. Like I'll take maybe like a Romanian dong and I'll cut it down what they call a shark fin, so it's just got a little bit of grab on it, and I'll use a rail on top of my gas tube, or there's different things.
Okay.
What do I think? I'll be eating top ramen a lot.
So basically, we seem you're more into quality AKs. What's your testing procedures on every firearm before it leaves your facility?
Okay, well, and actually, it's kind of gotten more intense over the last couple of years. Because we wanted to scrutinize little problems, that we were having with certain things here and there that developed. Because every AK is different. You build 10 of them, and you'll see something in one that you didn't see in the last one that didn't have that problem. And they're easy to fix, but really, we go through. If I have a bare receiver, we go through and we take all the parts to make sure that it's going to fit properly. If we have to do a little bit of filing, a little bit of fitting, we get everything to fit properly, and then we start the riveting process. We check every rivet after it's riveted to make sure it's done. And once we have the whole receiver riveted, we'll put a barrel in, headspace it correctly. We also take, we take a no-go gauge and a go gauge, and we also take a round, check it to make sure everything's going to be nice in it. We have to file fit the receiver on the inside. Once we have everything together at that point, we drill the barrel pin, put the pin in, and start turning around and putting all the population parts on. And that's from a custom one up. After that's done, we make sure everything is nice and smooth, make sure the trigger's good, disconnector disconnects every time. We'll test fire it before it's coated. Then we take it back, disassemble it, degrease it, make sure it's perfect, get it nice and coated, go test fire it again, and then it goes to the dealer or the customer that had it built.
Nice.
So basically, nothing that we did.
Well, nothing you can do. Everybody can build an AR-15, but it takes a lot more for AKs.
Yeah, it used to be really complicated, and lately there's been a lot of companies that have come out with really good tooling, and the knowledge has really come up. It took quite a few years. When I was younger, there wasn't any of this stuff you could get for these AKs. There wasn't receivers you could buy over the counter. There was a lot of time flats or 80s, and they weren't heat treated right with really crappy metal, and it's really climbed up. And the biggest thing is because they are a lot more accepted now. I remember back in the day, like if you talked to my grandpa and said, "Hey, I have an AK. What do you want that commie gun for? Pick yourself up an M14." And that's good. But this is also a lot of fun. It's a good hobby to have. I wouldn't say get too much into it because then you just become obsessed. And with the AKs, it's very easy to do that. There's so many different models. There's so many countries that have made them. A lot of guys are trying to collect all these different magazines, even over the gun, the pouches that go with the magazines. It's a very big market. I've come into your guys' shop a couple years ago and going through the bins looking
Digging
for
for mags,
digging
yeah.
for mags or pouches or different furniture. It's a cool hobby, and my hobby turned into a pretty cool business.
Those magazine collectors.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of these magazines, they're worth a pretty penny now.
Oh, yeah.
It's like comic books. They're worth $1,000, $1,500 just for this special mag they only made 50 of or whatever.
Green border guard mags.
The green
and-
border guard
yeah.
or the Fleur de Lis mags or and there's even, I was telling a guy the other day, and he said he knew everything, and and I said, "Do you have?" Because he told me, "Yeah, I've got every mag that's ever been done." I said, "Do you have a regular stamped looking mag that's very lightweight?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "It's a regular stamped AK mag like every other one, but it's made out of aluminum." "No, I've never heard of that." I said, "Yeah, they've only made like 20 of them, and they're a couple $1,000s to find one, And so it's kind of a cool hobby. It takes more than just a gun anymore, And that's when the hobby has really advanced.
Oh, yeah.
So, and there's a lot of young guys getting into it, and those guys that maybe just say like, I just put on the furniture and this is my custom gun. Well, they'll turn into guys that will eventually want to build their own custom gun, and a custom
Right.
barrel, and.
Well,
so-
and I think it's great to have as a hobby, but when you start marketing a gun as a company, you say this is
Yeah.
a custom gun,
Yeah.
and it's really a gun with custom furniture.
Yeah.
Yeah. which was, that's one of rolling right back to that was what I was expecting when I took your gun out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's nice to be pleasantly surprised,
Yeah.
as opposed to like getting unpleasantly surprised, expecting to have this great gun and have it turn to crap, having a gun that you don't have a lot of expectation out of, and to shoot it and to handle it and say, wow, because I've seen them in the shop and I've looked at them. I saw the underfolder and the side folder, and I thought, man, they're built pretty nice, and you really can't tell anything until you shoot it. So
Yeah, that is very true.
yeah.
And that is with the gun world right now. There's a lot of really expensive guns that look really cool and don't always function that great.
Right.
And I
We
won't
beat the
function
crap out of
with
our guns.
Yeah.
Don't tell Byron.
Not only that too,
Yeah.
but you look at the shop, you see different models of it and different furniture. You don't even think it's from the same company, but it is. It's you got everything: side folder, under folder.
Yeah, we try to offer a little bit of everything. Like I said, when you get into the AK world, the guys want the vintage stuff, they want the tactical stuff. The nostalgia is still there. So yeah, we'll offer a side folder or an under folder or anything the customer wants. Here at M&P, there's so many good guns. It's hard to compete sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So since we're there and you're talking about it anyway, let's jump right into the part I really want to know. Yeah. Basically, the reason I want to do this podcast. No, I'm kidding, Byron. There's other reasons.
I thought it was just to get women, Johnny.
It was. It was. What I really wanted to know is, what did you do to the trigger? What did you do to the action of the trigger group to make it run the way it runs? Because honestly, like I said before, and I don't, this is not a commercial for Imperial Arms. I just enjoyed shooting the heck out of this gun because it was so smooth. So what did you do to the trigger?
I hate to give away all the secrets.
Well, you can only go so far.
There's a
I get
process.
it.
We do finesse the hammer. We know exactly how far we can take it, and we do a little bit of polishing after we've kind of fitted it a little bit differently. And same on the trigger. A lot of triggers for the AK, there's single hook or double hook,
Right.
and we actually manipulate that hook system just a little bit to make it a little more precise. It resets a little bit quicker. Sometimes, depending on what the customer wants, again, we'll add a different spring in it or something.
It resets ridiculously fast.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
pretty good.
It's-
Yeah. Obviously, it's not something that a guy can do just pulling it apart and polishing it up. You're just not going to take mother,
I had to learn how far I could take it before it wouldn't work
I
anymore.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple there that didn't want to reset, and we had to figure, okay, well, how far did we go on?
Yeah,
it?
I mean,
So-
aside from the overall fit and finish, I'd have to say that the part that I'm most impressed about was the shooting characteristics of it, starting with the trigger group. I think that it's I don't know, if you guys know AKs and you shoot AKs a lot and you shot crappy ones, if you shot the original Com Block AKs, shooting this one is a completely different experience. And I can't stress that. That's the only reason I would buy it specifically, because you can buy other guns that look, like you said, as good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people can finish a gun up. They can paint a gun, and people do that. And to get the gun to shoot the way, I thought, I was telling you when we were shooting it, it's on the video. I said, man, this thing feels like a freaking 22.
Yeah.
It's funny. I didn't even know which gun you guys were taking,
Yeah.
and until after it was gonna happen, and I was kind of like, okay, you're taking that one. Like I had no expectations because I knew it would work just fine. But again, I didn't know which gun you guys were taking, so it was kind of, to me, I
We
was
just
like,
pick one at random.
right. That's what I thought. I was like, okay, so which gun is it?
Well,
you
just
know,
one.
after
We
the
didn't
fact,
we didn't
so-
handpick it. We
Yeah,
grabbed one
we
right
don't
off
want
the
you to
shelf.
cherry pick a gun.
I
to
know.
Yeah,
random.
exactly.
I was a little nervous, but at the same time, after I heard, I was like, yeah, of course, it's gonna be flawless.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
So
it's
there is a
such-
process to the trigger group that's proprietary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of guys that can do it. We're just smoothing it over, making it as tight as we can, with still operating really, really nice and smooth. And again, not only does the coating and everything else help a little bit, but it's going to be smoother over time.
Right.
And we do also do a little bit of work to the bolt carrier.
Right.
I don't want to give away all the secrets, but yeah, we do a little bit of work so it is super smooth. So.
Right.
It first time shooting, it just feels like it's already broken in. It's already where it needs
Well,
to be. It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, we put it as close as where we would want it to start off with, and then again, it's going to get better over time. And I mean, we put on the American-made muzzle brakes and stuff to, again, bring up that 9-to-hour compliance, which takes away some of that recoil. So when you are shooting it, you can actually you can feel the reset. Instead of like now all of a sudden the gun's jumping all over and you're not having a
Exactly.
chance to actually
Right.
enjoy the rest of the gun.
Right.
And that's what I was saying before, is a lot of guys, with the other guns, and let's say like barrels with the big gas ports and stuff that are
Right.
way overgassed. It's no fun to shoot.
No.
And nowadays, yeah, we've gotten to the point where we can refine this AK. It's no longer just a commie junk gun. It's a refined weapon.
Which is good to hear because, like I told you when we first talked, I just have low expectations of the AK platform in itself.
Yeah.
There's only, in my mind, up till this point, there's only so much you can do to massage it.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see that there's, not only the trigger action job, but, to correctly gas the gun, that kind of thing. It's just something that was never talked about in the past. You just got an AK and you got an AK. That's what it was.
That's very true.
So it's nice to hear that it's happening.
Got another listener question for you, Scott.
Okay.
Austin PV asked us, does Imperial offer a warranty on its firearms, and if so, is it transferable?
We do offer a warranty. We haven't really had any warranties to take care of, but
I guess that's a good problem to
yeah,
have.
I guess so. So really, I mean, we haven't really thought about a lifetime warranty. I mean, I've recently when people ask me that, I say, well, if you're the original owner of it, sure, but I haven't had anybody come back with any warranties. But I would take it from just about anybody, and I would have to look at it too to make sure that somebody else hasn't completely monkeyed with it that was beyond the original owner.
Right.
But yeah, we'll take in any of our guns and see if they fix them. We don't want anything to have any problems. So, I mean, if you want to say lifetime warranty, I guess that's a lifetime warranty. So as long as we're in business, we will stand behind our guns. So.
Well, awesome. We got some other things to get to here in the show. Do you have time to stick around and chat with us, Scott?
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, next up is our Minuteman Second Amendment news segment with Johnny Phoenix. What you got?
All right, thank you, Byron. This segment, we named it the Minuteman segment primarily because historically we're talking about Minutemen being people that were the colonists that were prepared for war at any point in time. And we're not talking about physical war now, but I think that given the way things are going in this country, and you take a look at the DNC candidates for the presidency of the United States in 2020, we're looking at people like Biden, we're looking at people like Beto, just every single 17 candidates from DNC are just straight out attacking the Second Amendment. And I said this on the blog the other day, and I got some flack for it. That's like the DNC or the liberal segment of this country does a much better job at taking care of their rights as they see it than we do as conservatives. And one of the things I wanted to do with the Minuteman segment was to inspire people. I'm not telling you to go join the NRA, the GOA, the Second Amendment Foundation, and spend a bunch of money or go walk the streets and all that stuff and act silly and protest. But I am telling you to educate yourself on the issues that face us as gun owners. As a gun shop, as a gun manufacturer, as a gun owner, we need to know what people are trying to take away from us. You got to be passionate about something to be passionate about something. You have to care about something to do something about it. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I am trying to get you passionate enough to do something about our rights. You take a look at today, USA Today, today is September 7th. They ran an article about the New York State Pistol and Rifle Association case against New York City, and it's going forward no matter how much the DNC and the liberal side of this country try to stop it and try to moot the case. Basically, the lawsuit has reached the Supreme Court, and the people are saying, New York City is basically saying, all right, fine, we don't want to expose some little gaps that we have here, so we're just going to give you the case. We're basically saying we're giving up. We're going to take the laws that affect New York City citizens in the ability to transport their firearms and the ability to have guns at all in some cases, and we're just going to drop it. We're just going to make new laws, or we're just not going to follow the laws we had before, just so this case does not reach the Supreme Court. And this is why this case is important, and this is why you should know what it's about so that you have an understanding of how far this has gotten in our country. The case that's reached the Supreme Court is based on two other cases, the two most important cases up to this point in our lives. It is the Heller case and the McDonald case. If you don't know anything about the Heller case, Heller against Washington, D.C. basically was just a case that said you have a right under the Second Amendment to own guns for self-defense. It has nothing to do with the militia. And they made it illegal for Washington, D.C. to make citizens lock and disassemble their firearms in their homes. That's what Heller was about. Well, then the other 50 states, or the liberal states, said, well, Washington, D.C. is its own incorporated entity, and it doesn't affect the rest of the country. That's where McDonnell, in 2010, McDonnell versus Chicago came in and took effect, in which, in that instance, Chicago did not abide by the Heller decision. They basically said it doesn't affect us because Washington, D.C. is its own incorporated entity. And what the Supreme Court affirmed there was that under the 14th Amendment and due process, it is anything that's affecting this one state will affect all others. They're basically saying that all the other 50 states were affected by that ruling under Heller. What this particular case of New York City versus the New York State Pistol and Rifle Association is representing, and is the reason that the left wants to keep it out of court, is when they sued, when the New York State's Rifle Pistol Association sued New York City in saying it's unconstitutional for you to make us only carry our guns to these 7 authorized gun ranges, and we can't carry our gun outside the city limits of New York City. They said that the reason that that was possible, that they could write that law, was because the Second Amendment only refers to gun ownership in defense of your home. What the left and the DNC doesn't want to happen is that the Supreme Court has to make a decision, has to clarify Heller and McDonnell. Because under Heller and McDonnell, you're still only, according to New York City, able to own your gun within the privacy of your own home. Now, if you take that out, do you think self-defense is just a home issue? Could you say that to the people in El Paso, Texas that were in Walmart? Could you say that to the people in Aurora, Colorado that were in a movie theater? Did their self-defense stop when they left their home? No, it did not. It extends, just like it does in Arizona, to every place that you're legally allowed to be. That's the Castle Doctrine in Arizona. And what this case will do, if it reaches the Supreme Court and is put under high scrutiny, is it will expose the fact that New York City unconstitutionally stopped their citizens from having the ability to defend themselves. And if they lose that case, as most legal experts expect, then that will be wide open for the rest of the states in the United States of America, in states like California, and states like Hawaii, and states like New York, and states like New Jersey. It will make it illegal for them to tell you you can't carry a gun out in public. And that's why it's important that this case proceeds forward. And on December 2nd, oral arguments will begin. And what that will do is allow the court to decide whether or not they will hear the case. And this is something that most conservatives don't know. This is something that most gun owners don't know. This is something that most gun owners don't care about. And if you don't care about your rights, if you're not going to know what your rights are, how can you defend them? If you're not passionate about owning a gun, and you're just a regular Joe, hey, I have a gun, I throw it in a drawer somewhere, and once in a while I'll take it out and shoot it, then you're really you're not defending the Second Amendment. The reason I started my blog, the reason I'm on this podcast, the reason that I'm interacting with gun manufacturers, gun retailers, gun customers, is because I want to bring a heightened awareness to what we're facing as a community. Our community is under fire. Our community is under attack. Our community is having our rights stripped away little by little. And I had one of our bloggers today, a real close friend of mine, said, yeah, that's great, and I agree with you, but this isn't really the case that we really should worry about, because they're already trying to moot it, so it's not that big of a deal. It is that big of a deal. It's that big of a deal because the Supreme Court has heard one case in the last 10 years on the Second Amendment. That's it. One case in 10 years. That's, for most Americans, they live 70 years. That 1/7 of your lifetime's gone by while somebody's stripping away your rights. We don't have a choice. You got to educate yourself. You got to understand. You got to know what you're facing so that you can defend it. I don't want to defend the Second Amendment. I want a proliferation of the Second Amendment. I want to support people that create firearms in their own custom shops that aren't restricted to having to build what they have to build based on what the industry tells them to build. That's why I support companies like Imperial Arms. Not just because of the quality of their guns. If they make crappy guns, I wouldn't support them on that basis alone. But because they do put out a quality product, but they really are doing something else. This is the John Browning of our generation. You know, this is the Samuel Colt of our generation. These are the people that make it possible down the road for guys or gals who are listening out there one day to wake up and say, you know what? I'd like to build a gun. I think I'm a good engineer. I think I'm a great gun maker. I think I can build a better gun than Colt. Or I think I can build a better gun than Arsenal Las Vegas. And I'm going to go in my garage and I'm going to create a gun and I'm going to manufacture it and I'm going to bring it to market and I'll let the public decide whether or not this gun's worth buying. And we lose that a little bit every single day when we sit there and we don't educate ourselves. That's what my blog is about. That's what this podcast for me is about. It's about letting people create their own passion about an item that they would otherwise just look at as another tool. Yeah, a gun's just a tool, but our rights aren't just a tool. Our rights are our rights. They're God-given to us. And if we don't fight for them, and if we don't stand up for them, if we don't educate ourselves on the issues that face us, those rights will be stripped away a little bit at a time, and before you know it, we're looking at why California has to have a compliant gun. We're looking at featureless guns. We're looking at electronic guns that can be shut down by any criminal or any program that's run. You have an app for a gun now? You think that gun's really going to work? How do you know that somebody hasn't built in an item that or a little back door that allows to shut your gun down when you need it? Yeah, it's great against criminals, but what if the criminals get that app and they shut your gun down when they're breaking into your house? You know, there are a lot of issues that we need to educate ourselves on as gun owners, and we have to be better than our competition. And our competition are people that are taking guns away. And I had another poster say to me, well, you know what? Conservatives have jobs. You know, we don't have time to go around marching around. We pay the NRA every month X amount of dollars, and then they're going to go ahead and lobby for us. Hey guys, there's 100 million people that own guns in this country. There are 5 million NRA members. There are 1.5 million GOA members. There's 500,000 Second Amendment Foundation members. That means like 90% of the people that own guns don't give a crap. They're not doing anything. And the other people that are paying, saying, here's my $25 a month, go ahead and fix it. Look at the NRA. Are they fixing it? Or is Wayne LaPierre living in a $6 million mansion while your bump stocks got banned for no reason? And people say, well, I don't need a bump stock. It starts with bump stocks. I don't own a bump stock anymore, but I support people that do. There are people that love fantastic $12,000 shotguns. I don't need a $12,000 shotgun, but if somebody wants a $12,000 shotgun, I support the right to own it. And those of you that own $12,000 shotguns and think that AR-15s and AK47 variants are a bunch of baby murdering guns, you're kidding yourselves. Because eventually they're going to come after your $12,000 shotgun. Because gun grabbers grab guns. They don't grab AKs and AR-15s. You got Beto standing out there saying, yeah, hell yeah, we're coming to get it. You got to wake up. You got to find a passion for what you do in life. For me, it's guns. I enjoy guns. I enjoy shooting guns. I enjoy the beauty of guns. I enjoy the romance of old guns. I enjoy the technology of new guns. But most importantly, I care about this country. And if you care about this country, you'll know that the Second Amendment protects all the other amendments. And if you don't do something to protect your own rights, no one else will do it for you. Not the NRA, not the GOA. It's you. You got to care enough about it to do something about it. What you choose to do about it's up to you. I'm not telling you what to do, but you got to create a passion for it. So there's my rant. There's my 2A.
Well,
thank you, sir.
Johnny, we, you didn't really have a lot to say about that topic, but the next one might get you fired up a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of talk about the red flag laws going around right now. What do you think?
You guys jump in, but I'll tell you what, the red flag laws, if you look back in history, let's find out what red flag laws really do. They take away due process. It's not a matter of somebody says, hey, you know what, Byron, I think you're nuts. I'm going to call the cops. The cops are going to come up to your house. They're going to give you a warrant to show up somewhere to prove that you're not a nut. No, it's not like that. It's, Byron, I think you're a nut. And some cop's going to come to your house and disarm you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Where's the due process in that? We even had, and God love him, I support President Trump, but I don't think he's right on everything. He made a statement on TV. It says, take the guns first and due process next. And the left side of the country just went crazy on that. And I don't think that's what he meant. I think that was under, duress, whatever the case may be, and maybe misspoken. But red flag laws, they're unconstitutional. There is a due process. You are not guilty. You cannot be guilty until you're proven guilty. That's the basis of our laws. So when you have red flags, anybody could, your babysitter could be in your house, Scott, and see that you've got an AK-47 sitting on a workbench and freak the heck out and say, you know what? I don't know what he's doing. He's back here building guns. It's completely legal to build a gun. You got a license to sell them, right? But you don't know who's going to sit there. You piss your neighbor off. Maybe you park your truck too close to the curb, and they decide, oh my God, I'm living next to a guy who builds AK-47s. He's parking his dang truck everywhere. He's staged. He's got a huge beard. He's got an operator beard. He's running around, operating, whatever the heck that means, right? So
well, if I didn't have a license, I'd be all worried. But at the same time,
but you got to spend the money.
Yeah.
Legally, you have to defend yourself, and there's no reason why any American in this country should live in fear of their political aspirations or their political beliefs and have somebody just disarm them. I've never seen a gun owner go outside and say to a non-gun owner, hey, you're a jackass because you don't own a gun. You got to own a gun. You're un-American, or you're not helping anybody because you're not owning a gun. We have never forced anybody to own a gun except one municipality in Georgia somewhere where there's a city that says it's an ordinance that you got to own a gun, which is a hell of a city. That guy should be president of the United States. But other than that, we never force our hobby or we never force our love of AK-47 on people don't love AK-47s. But if you're anti-gun, God forbid, you can't have a gun because some guy went and shot somebody, and I think you're crazy for having a gun. Byron, you work in a shop, right? Mm-hmm. You're dangerous looking.
Yeah.
Yeah? I should call the cops, have you disarmed. You're crazy. Yeah. That's what I think of red flag laws.
Hopefully we'll get to that.
The scariest part about it is when it comes down to the red flag laws is that they're planning on implementing it on one of the Bill of Rights. That's if they're able to implement that on one of the amendments in the Bill of Rights, what's next? They cart you off. Yeah. Even they cart you off because you're 3 months late paying your taxes, and they cart you off to prison for that. Or
there you go.
It's a starting point, and it's an extremely slippery slope. On where it can lead.
It's just based on an accusation. That's what it comes down to. It's anyone can accuse anyone of anything, and the First Amendment is the ability to speak your mind. It's your right to speak your mind, to have your own beliefs and whatever, and be able to say it outside of screaming fire in the flipping movie theater. Now you can't say it. They are censoring conservative voices. They're censoring gun owners. Because you're afraid to say, I'll be honest with you. I don't use my real name because I don't want people to know that I'm sitting here blowing out anti-2A people. I'm not blowing them out. I'm critical of liberalism. I'm critical of the DNC. I'm critical of a government side of the country that would look to take away our rights. I mean, what else can you make of it when somebody doesn't want you armed?
I just worry about the old guys. Like when I think red flag laws, the first people I think of is the older gentleman who's 70, 80 years old. It's his hobby. It's his life now. It's his retirement.
The only thing he has
left.
It's
the only thing he has. His wife died 5 years ago, and his neighbors never talk to him. But he looks like he may drink a little bit, and he may work on old vehicles out front,
Cranky.
He's cranky. Get out of my yard. And somebody calls, oh, that old man, he threatened me and he's got guns. And he's been there. He's, law-abiding citizen, never had an issue in his life. He's a veteran, and those are the guys that I think are going to have the most issues. And guess what? Once they start taking down all those guys, who's next? Who's next in line? And then it'll just come down to, my cousin got in an argument with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend called the cops. And next thing you know, there went his collection, and he's spending the next 8 weeks to 5 months and lawyer fees and everything trying to get his guns back. I mean, it's a slippery slope. Then you start going that. I mean, it really is. I mean, and they're coming at us from all angles when they say the mag restrictions or the gun particular restrictions or the person. I mean, if you're really 2A, then you really have to think about. I mean, as a gun manufacturer, I think about every day. I build guns, and I don't know where those guns are going to end up. I know they go to a dealer. I know that they're getting paperwork done on them and the whole 9 yards, but who knows, eventually they could end up in the wrong hands. And as a manufacturer, I have to look at it, and I have to be kind of indifferent and just know that I built the best quality I could, and they're going to the right person. So that's something else you got to think about too. Is sometimes you have a lot of these people that don't realize that they're selling the gun to the wrong person, and they know it, and they're making money off it too.
Well, that's the thing, if it makes you feel any better, there's this year in 2019, we increased the number of CCWs in the United States by 8%, and that's with adding 2 states that are now constitutional carry states. So we take away the necessity to have a CCW from 2 states, and we still increase 1.4 million people carrying CCW licenses.
It's just funny how many more people are trying to be legit.
Exactly.
Come on, there's more and more people. They would just want to pass more and more laws.
You can't blame people either.
Yeah.
I mean, people have a legitimate fear of going to the supermarket to get groceries for their family.
Exactly.
Or taking their family out to a movie theater to see a movie. I mean, it's a legitimate concern everywhere.
Well, tell me one CCW carrier that went loony. These guys are doing. They're not getting their guns through the traditional ways. People that are creating crime in this country, and bear in mind, 2.85 million people die a year in the United States, and 40,000 of them are attributed to gun deaths.
Most
and of those 40,000,
they're not murders, they're suicides.
They're suicides.
Yeah.
Over half, nearly 70 or 60% to 70% are suicides.
Correct.
So what you got left is you got criminals shooting criminals.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about criminal on citizen crimes. We're talking about majority of shootings are criminals on criminals. Take a look at Chicago, man. It's a flippin' shooting gallery up there.
Well, then you talk about the other side of people saying our guns are ending up in Mexico and this and that. There was a statistic that just recently came out. It's not as much as you would think. A lot of those guns they're getting from their own military. They're getting from South American military.
They're getting them from Eric Holder.
But I mean, there is a very low amount of guns that are actually getting caught in Mexico that are actually from America, and we're getting a lot of people yelling at us saying, "Oh, you're getting the Mexicans' gun." No, that is actually less than you would really imagine. It's
it's
less than 17%.
It goes right back to what I'm talking about, man. Back in the day, when I was a kid, when I had to learn something, when I had to know something, to be able to speak intelligently about it, and I had to have resources to get this information from, I had to go to the library, man. I had to learn the Dewey Decimal System. That's how old I am, right? So nowadays, it doesn't matter which search engine you are. If you can spell pretty much 2/3 of the words right, you can find it.
Joe just looked at you and said, "Dewey who?"
I have no.
That's right. You're like, don't worry about it.
Talking about Dewey Cox.
The point is, we're at a place in civilization where if you can spell 2/3 of what you want correctly into a search line for a search engine, you'll find the information you need. I'm not a brilliant scholar, man. All the information I've quoted to you can be sourced back to an article or a study. These numbers I'm flipping out, I memorize them because I care enough to memorize them, because I don't want somebody to sit there, an uneducated person to sit there and tell me, hey, look, you don't know your stuff, and this is what guns are. 90% of Americans polled want gun control. Yeah, if you poll 90% of DNC voters, you're going to get 90% of the people that say we don't want guns.
Or better yet, like CNBC had a thing last week where they were talking about, should everyone own a gun or whatever. Did you see that too?
Yeah, that went a little bit out of their favor.
They didn't realize what was going to happen. Next thing you know, there's 89% of the votes that they got were in favor of everyone should have a gun. They didn't like those results. They started back and they only took certain people's votes that were It's crazy. So even though you see sometimes the numbers
can be false.
they can be altered, and that's another thing that we're fighting against too, is like all these uneducated people that are stating misrepresenting certain things.
And some of them are misrepresenting by not knowing, and others are doing it on purpose. But that's the whole point. That's the whole reason I have.
I was gonna say my extended mags, my double barrel buckshot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is the only reason I have this segment on the show. When we sat down and started formalizing what we were going to do, or I don't even know if that's the right word. We're just sitting there throwing spit wads up against the wall, and we're saying, hey, we love guns, we sell guns, we play with guns, we want to have a podcast, and we want to be able to. This is what I envisioned it to be for me. To get my 2 minutes in the conversation to say, look, guys and gals, it's fantastic that we all love guns. It's fantastic that we have makers, we have manufacturers, we have designers, we have retailers, we have salesmen. What a perfect way to put it all together so that we all can sit and say, look, this is a hobby, or this is an interest, or this is a passion that we all have. But we can't just play all the time. It's not all the time for me to go out and play with Scott's gun or Byron's guns that he has here, which thanks, both of you, by the way. Fantastic time. Love it. But for me, it's beyond that. I can play with my own, I have my own guns, obviously, and I can play with them all day long and do reviews on them, what have you.
You play with yourself.
Play with myself. But it's important to get the message out. It's important to at least, I don't care if I upset people by saying some of the things I do. I know that some people in the gun community will find me offensive and what have you, and that's fine. But at least I'm making you think. At least I'm forcing you to think. At least I'm pushing you to say, screw that guy. He doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. Well, if I don't know what I'm talking about, prove it. You prove it. You prove it to yourself. You learn the numbers, and you tell me if I'm wrong or right. And if I'm wrong, I'll be glad to accept it. But if you go dig into the numbers like I do, and all it takes is to go on Bing, you can use Google if you want, and just find out what I'm saying. Am I full of crap, or am I telling you the truth? If nothing else, you should find out.
And then, you've got the Tom Schmitz of the world who don't dig into the numbers. They just see the number and don't analyze what they're actually looking at. And then, they spread misinformation.
Because they think that Vox and Vice are actually a source of information.
Exactly.
It's the plague of misinformation.
Yeah.
So we will wrap that up there tonight. We do have a little bit left to get to here in the show. So our next segment is the blue collar baller review on the new DiamondBack DB9 Gen4 pistol.
Right on. This is another thing that I love. I don't want to hog up the show, and Joe's obviously sitting there looking at me too. You're going crazy again. I told you not to do that. The blue baller collar, I think, runs a lot. Has a lot to do with the Minuteman, the blue baller collar, the blue collar baller, right? Blue collar. So what I was looking at is this, right? And I think some of you appreciate this and some won't. But for me, it's just a humorous way of looking at how do I introduce people into the gun hobby? How do I get people to be interested in guns? The two reasons that people don't get into guns the most are, number one, they're very intimidated by people in the gun industry. The gun guys and gun gals, man, we got our own lingo. We got our own little bravado. We're always talking about this gun, that gun, And we're talking usually about high-end guns. We're talking about guns that run into thousands of dollars. I mean, that's my guns. I love HKs. I love high-end Colts and all that good
Sorry,
stuff.
I'm poor. I just like guns.
I'm like Scott. I like all guns. But I think for the average person, and I spend a lot of time in Byron's shop and Joe's shop, I'll go in here and look for deals, but I'll spend time just BSing with people to come through the shop because, I grew up in gun shops. That's what people do. Scott grew up, playing with guns, and look at where he's at now. I grew up, didn't have a whole gun room like I do now, but it's just what happens, But I got there because, just like Scott said, things were cheap. He got into AKs because they were cheap. And I love guns that are affordable and good value guns. Guns that work, that don't cost a lot. Because I was dating a girl once that was a waitress, and she was a single mom. And I used to always freak out, because it's like, man, I got to come pick you up. So no, don't worry, but I'm fine. It's fine before you ever met me, all this other stuff. Well, it's like, yeah, you need a gun, right? So take one of my guns. And she's like, nah, I don't want to take anything of yours, all that stuff. And I was like, that's cool. Well, you need to go buy one. So I finally talked her into going to buy a gun. But, she couldn't afford a Glock. I said, get a Glock 26. That's what I carry. Glock 26 are great. They're perfect size for you. Shoot well. It's like $589 out the door or something like that. And she couldn't afford it. And, I never really thought, for me at the time, a Glock was a bargain gun. That was it. That was the, polymer, plastic, very no personality kind of gun that worked. But what I got to realize, a lot of people don't have the love for guns that I do. So $500, $600, that's a car payment, that's a rent payment. And for a single mom working a waitress job, you can't afford $600. So there began my search for the blue collar baller type of guns. I didn't realize it was what it was then, but that's what it evolved to. I want to be able to introduce people who happen to be on this, that hear this podcast from a recommendation from a friend or something, that don't really know a lot about guns. You shouldn't be intimidated by guns, whether it's because they fire bullets or because you don't know anything about them. And you should be able to get into the hobby by starting somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere with a gun. And we don't want to, recommend bad, cheap guns. We want to recommend high-value guns. And I think that's my way of contributing to fighting the anti-gun onslaught of the world, is to be able to say, look, man, you don't have to spend $2,000 on a Colt Custom to be a cool guy. You could just have a gun that you can start shooting. Shooting a gun, I think, is where you start developing a love for the gun, hobby or not. You're going to find out once you shoot. Most people that I know that love guns, as soon as I shoot a gun, it's like, wow, that was fun. I want one. Most people that shoot a gun and say, wow, that sucked, they're never going to want a gun. But you're not going to spend $600 on a gun you don't want. So, in my search for guns, I also look at the other reason why people don't carry guns. They're heavy, man. They're heavy. A 1911 is nearly 2 pounds. A Glock is, it's a lighter gun, but still has this chunk of metal that you're going to have to carry on you. And if you don't have the right equipment, your pants are going to sag. It's going to hurt the side that you're wearing it on. You're going to have ladies that don't want to carry it. They want to carry a brick in their purse. That's where ladies carry their guns, unfortunately. I'm not a big proponent of off-body carry, but some people, people do what they do. So ladies don't like to carry guns that are heavy in their purses. So the two guns that I chose to feature this week, the LCP2 is actually just here for size comparison, but there's a gun that I actually really love and wanted to work, and the ones that Joe and I tested is the DiamondBack DB9 Gen4. Now, there were a lot of problems with the earlier generations, but the fourth iteration of this gun I think is fantastic from the design aspect. We tested it because I wanted to see if the damn thing worked, and thank God it worked. But go ahead, Joe. Take us through it.
Basically, we took this pistol out. I didn't have really high hopes for it because of the earlier generations. It kind of threw me out of the water how well it actually performed. It is a smaller gun, so it is going to have a lot of recoil. Compared to 380s, it's around its size. It's you're jumping up in the caliber. You're going from 380 to 9mm, but the recoil aspect on it it's crazy how small or how minimal the recoil was. I enjoyed shooting it. Usually I don't like shooting smaller guns, but this one was it was a lot easier to shoot. It performed well. The accuracy was there. I mean, it's a pocket pistol. It's not gonna be a let me shoot that gong from 60 yards away from.
Unless you're
Hickok.
Or
but
Scott.
I still think he has somebody throwing rocks at the gongs.
I think he's got a guy in the back just like ding ding.
Or maybe with a little drum pad with the ping sign.
What do you think of the gun, Byron? You had it in the shop for a while. Have you looked at it?
I've messed around with it a little bit. Size-wise for a 9mm, it's incredibly compact.
It really is.
I obviously haven't shot it like you guys have, but let's go to the video and check out and see what you guys did.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Hi guys, it's me and Joe, Johnny Phoenix, and Big Joe from the shop. We're out here doing some testing today for our podcast. And what we're testing is a DB9 Gen4 versus the 380 LCP2. And we're going to run some different types of ammo to it. We're going to run some self-defense ammo, some brass ammo, and some aluminum steel, right?
Right.
It's steel. Steel case ammo. We're going to mix it up, see if it works. I've got great high hopes for the gun. I hope it runs well, because if it does, it's a really nice sized pistol and it's priced right. It's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 to $250 for the price point. So that kind of gun with that kind of caliber going up from the LCP2, which is 380 to a 9mm, is something that I think that most people would enjoy carrying.
Don't forget to mention that we're in this beautiful Arizona desert. Can't get this anywhere else but Arizona.
And obviously we're not professionals.
Nope.
Safety check the guns before we get started. Empty mag. Same thing, this is the DB9 DiamondBack. This is the 4th generation, kind of stiff because it's brand new. Take a look at the size comparison between the 380 and the 9mm. You can see it's a bit longer in the barrel. The grips and the width. So you're moving up in caliber at 9mm to a 380, but you're not going up too far in size. It's a great little deep cover gun or backup gun. Excited to see it work. Hope it shoots well. It does have a slide stop, which is hard to actuate with these gloves on, but it's really not a combat gun, so there you have it. That's what we'll be testing. Our first mag, straight out of the box, no lubing, no cleaning, no stripping. On the DB9 got the cellular billet, 9mm. This is 115 grain, just range ammo. Clear. Not too bad. Trigger. The trigger is very, very long. Got a little snap to it. You get used to it though. This little thing right here helps a lot. Gives you a better grip on it. Just keep your pinky on it. Seems like a good quality mag.
Nice tension on the spring too. It does have a lot of snap, but for
Yep.
for
Kinda
something small like
expect
that, it's not bad at all. I've
Kinda
shot a lot of
expect
guns that are around that size and had a lot more snap. So
I think the extension on the mag really helps.
yeah,
You keep your pinky down on it. We'll keep it from muzzle, right?
yeah, nice gun. Did you see how it does with the steel case ammo?
Let's do it.
All right, next we're gonna be shooting some steel case ammo, 115 grain Wolf's Military Classic. Let's see how it does with steel case ammo. Ran through, cycled fine. I want to say it was a little bit smoother than shooting the brass, the S&B. We'll let John get a crack at it, see how you feel about it.
So far, so good. You got a lot of high hopes for this thing. If it runs like it's supposed to run, it's a great upgrade to an LCP2 if you want it to go up in caliber. Not giving up too much in size. Clear. Double tapped it. Was good on the double tap. Here we go. This will be half steel, half brass. Going hot. So far, so good.
So
All right, so Joe's gonna go with brass, steel, and then some 124 grain HST Federal hollow point. All right, going hot. Empty, but didn't lock back. I'm gonna feed this mag full of hollow points and try to see if we get the lock back for the last shot. All right, going hot. Lock back. Actually, I think the problem was not locking back with me. My thumb was riding on the slide. And final thoughts on the new Gen4 DB9 DiamondBack deep cover kind of gun. I had a lot of high hopes for this gun, and all of them came true. We shot this thing with a bunch of different ammo. We ran it with steel case, we ran it with brass, we ran it with 115 grain, 124 grain. We ran it with hollow points, so it fed everything. There were only 2 glitches, and both of them were on my part, which were both user generated. What happened was my thumb was riding on the slide, and it caused the gun not to lock back. But other than that, if you watch your placement of your thumb, your support thumb, you will not have that issue. It doesn't lock back. So I loved it.
I really liked it too. I didn't have much expectation for it. Just the first models of the DP9 that were released, they seemed kind of janky to me. This one actually shot nice. Didn't have any hiccups. You know, I didn't have any issues. I really like the fact that it came with the slide stop. I was able to lock back after the last round. That's a big plus for me. A 9mm this small, you expect a lot of recoil, but honestly, it's pretty smooth. I really enjoyed it. Appreciate you guys watching. Be prepared for more videos from us. Log on to www.justapurereviews. Check out the tack blog. Also, want to give a big shout out to MMP Guns. They kind of loaned us to the demo to get this going, just to see the comparison between this and the LCP2. As far as size wise, of getting out of that 380 and getting into a 9mm. MSRP on this gun was
I think it's like 260
something. MMP Guns had this for about 239-ish. It's a great gun if you're looking for your first gun, you know, you want to carry conceal. Highly recommend it. Like I said, wasn't having high hopes for it, but it actually exceeded my expectations, and pretty fun gun to shoot.
If you're a trigger guy or gal and you love your triggers to be like 1911s, you're not going to get them at this price point. This is an entry-level gun that's reliable. It's designed, it's not a range gun, it's designed for up close and personal protection. It's a get off me kind of gun, and for that purpose and that role, it works perfectly fine. The trigger is super long, and you're not going to win any shooting competitions with it, but you can defend yourself effectively with it because it's reliable. It's fed all kinds of ammo. It shoots well for what it is. Like Joe said, I've shot a lot of subcompact 9mm that have more snap to it, and even with the self-defense ammo, this gun recoiled was manageable. That's what I got on it.
Cool. It's a wrap.
So the MSR on that DiamondBack DB9 is $299. The price as tested was $249. Good value, John?
I think it's a great value. As a matter of fact, I'm getting it. So.
All right. Sounds good. Well, that's going to bring us to a close on our inaugural episode here of the Kickin Brass podcast. And a couple things we're looking forward to for episode 2. We will have Troy shooter Ursula Williams in studio. She is definitely a character. It's
she'll-
something you guys definitely want to listen to.
She'll outshoot you at the same time she's talking
Oh,
shit at
yeah.
the same time.
Exactly. And also we have a video review on the highly anticipated Taurus G3.
Awesome.
And of course some more.
Excited for that.
Scott, we would like to thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me. It was
And
an
we
honor.
thank you for
Yeah.
building your gun. It's an
Oh,
amazing weapon.
Thank you.
It's something great for you to share.
Scott's a
with
great
everyone
guy
else.
too, by the way.
Yeah,
I really don't believe him. I'm a jerk.
And I
To be
have a-
honestly, yeah, you know the gun industry, man. A lot of these guys are high personalities, really decent,
Yeah.
down to earth kind of guys.
Most
so.
of them are. Most of them are.
We actually wanted to do a beard comparison between mine and yours, but we don't really have time for that.
Yeah, sorry.
So maybe maybe in the future.
So for myself, Johnny Phoenix, Joe Escobar, and our guy behind the scenes, engineer Chris, we are signing off. Episode 1 is in the books. Thank you. Have a good night.